Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
I made a mistake the other day on Twitter, and not like I made a small boo-boo or like a typo, because I make a typo every other tweet, and then the trick is it doesn't appear until a couple hours later. But no, I made a mistake, and I owe an apology to our Sport City brethren out in Buffalo. Obviously things in Buffalo are bad right now. There's serious talk of whether or not they're going to move Jack Eichel. Does Jack Eichel want out? Like, there's conversation surrounding that. The whole Jeff Skinner saga, Ralph Kruger, what's going to happen with him? And then, as things do when they get bad, things get ridiculous and hysterical, and not in the funny way. And so I saw Dahlin's name throwing out, and I saw stats at like how Dahlin is a bust. He's 20 years old, by the way. Or Dahlin's not lived up to the hype, or he's part of the problem. And I want to put this out there now. Nobody reputable was saying this. This was not like a real conversation. It's not like Dahlin was actually being shopped. Without thinking about it, I just tweeted out, like, there's actual conversation about, moving Dahlin. That is so insane. I would drive to the airport myself, or one of those kinds of comments. It meant nothing. I'm a Detroit person. That's Buffalo. I didn't mean anything by it. It was literally just to highlight how stupid it would be to remove Rasmus Dahlin. But hey, if anybody wanted to be that idiotic, whoever got him would be the winner of you should never have gotten this player in a trade lottery. Put my phone down. Mel and I were playing a board game, having some drinks, and it just would not stop buzzing. And then I saw it's just like Twitter selectively shows you replies, and usually when they highlight one person's name, it's like someone with a lot of followers or something. And I saw the name, and I can't remember the guy's name, and I apologize to him. Huge radio host in Buffalo, and he replied and said, "Who's saying this?" And I went, "Oh no, it made it to Buffalo Twitter. This is bad." And I looked at all the replies, and people were freaking out. And I was like, I hate doing this, but I got to delete these right now before this gets worse, because I think I've scared some people into thinking Dahlin is actually being shopped, and that is my fault. I'm an idiot, asshole jerk who should have worded things better. And that is the day I learned to think a little bit more before I tweet, and it only took 6 years.
So I've got 3 takeaways here. One,
that's bad.
This is why I hate getting involved in hypothetical trade stuff, because this. 2, you actually have Twitter notifications turned on your phone?
Yeah, that's the most egregious part of that whole story.
Are you okay?
No, you guys should know that I'm not, right?
Yeah, that's fair. And 3, there's a function where you can kind of tweak your mentions so you don't get all of them.
I have worked on that, which is why when I see specific mentions, sometimes I'll check out like who tweeted or something, especially if I don't recognize the name. It's probably someone from another part of Twitter, like Buffalo Twitter, wondering why some dumbass from an unrelated team is talking about shopping probably their most important or second most important asset. Yeah, we don't have the luxury of engaging in stupid hypothetical trades.
Yeah, no,
it's not a luxury because they're stupid.
My favorite thing going around that I have not partaken in because it's insane is obviously when a player like Jack Eichel is out there in trade rumors, everybody's going to speculate. It's understandable. The Jack Eichel trade rumors have come from legitimate sources. It's an actual talking point. It's not just NHL trade rumors from Fred.com. It's, Friedman's talking about it, McKenzie's talking about it, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And then I see those trade proposals leak into Red Wings Twitter, and it's like, would you give up Jonathan Berggren and Taro Hirose and a third? Like, because I think I would do that. And my brain is like, everybody's aware that there might be one untouchable in the Red Wings organization for Eichel, and that's probably a stretch. If they want to trade Larkin plus for Eichel, they should do it. If they want to trade their 2021 first round pick for Eichel, they should do it. If they want to trade Moritz Seider for Jack Eichel, they should do it. I don't think people grasp that teams want good things for generational players. And Jack Eichel was in the MVP conversation last year. I understand that he's not 20 anymore, but you're not getting literally one of the best players on the planet for spare parts. Like, I would probably move Lucas Raymond for Jack Eichel, but that's the only one in the organization where I might have a little bit of pause. Not that I wouldn't do it, but I'm like, okay, well, he's 7 years younger. Maybe we should factor that in here. But yeah, can we please just, if we're going to do these hypothetical Jack Eichel trade proposals, and I'm saying for once we should, because if the Red Wings can get Jack Eichel, they should do it. But you have to be real. Like, if you're throwing Dylan Larkin in that trade, you're adding Joe Veleno at a minimum. Like, Jack Eichel is not a normal trade piece, and we need to understand that.
Yeah, it's really funny because it's somehow the same people who are looking at this organization and where they're playing and how they're playing right now, and the bummer of the Red Wings game that was last night's against Columbus, and then the overinflating of the value of the very same players that they're frustrated with all season. It's like it's a spectrum for sure. Like, there's a range, and just one game doesn't define a team. But yeah, don't understate how important Jack Eichel will be to a hockey team. Anyways, there's going to be so much more in Buffalo that's going to be relevant, and I'm sure we're going to get tons of questions about it. But for now,
hold on. Before you move on, the timing of this might be the funniest thing that's ever happened to me. As we're talking about this, I get a text from my buddy. I don't know if you can see this image. Mock trade to Detroit, Jack Eichel to Buffalo, GM tips from Steve Yzerman.
No deal. Sorry, they're going to have to add. They're going to probably have to include, not Dahlin, but yeah, no, let's just make it an even Dahlin. We'll throw in Cholowski and call it even.
And just one final point to it, just so Red Wings fans understand what they're up against in attempting to trade for Jack Eichel. There are Rangers fans who are saying the Rangers should offer Lafreniere. And most Rangers fans think they should do it. So just keep that in the back of your mind. You have to beat Lafreniere in a trade offer.
For now, Detroit Talk. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I can't find the mute button. I'm Evan.
On this episode of the podcast, we'll be reviewing the atrocious previous game of the Detroit Red Wings. We'll be talking about the next game for the Red Wings and why that's important. We'll be talking more about the Red Wings trade board and the trade bait. An interesting piece from Craig Custance, his annual trade board, sparked some good discussion, and I think it's about time that we talk about that voodoo, I don't want to, taboo conversation, I should say, that I've been trying to avoid since summer because people get very angry, which is, do the Red Wings move Anthony Mantha? Some news about prospects and news around the league before jumping into overtime. Very quickly, though, while it's front of mind, the other night on our Instagram story, a lot of you noticed that there were pictures and videos from inside the LCA, which was very cool. It was awesome to be back in the building. Not for us, though, because that was not us. That is our good friend Everett at Born to Dan Hard on Twitter. That's at Born to Dan Hard. Go give him a follow. Everett is actually, in addition to being an incredible friend and sponsor for so many of the giveaways on this show, Everett's going to be helping us out with some things, including our Instagram. So sometimes those posts and comments will be from us. Other times when you see stories like that, that'll be Everett. So Everett, we thank you for your help, and thank you for tricking so many people. We probably got, I think, 30 DMs saying, how did you get in? And the answer is Evan bought the team and got us in.
That is true. You're going to see some drastic changes from the top down.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what those are yet. That's a Patreon exclusive episode.
Are you painting the ice red?
Well, we're getting rid of the black seats, that's for sure. We're bringing back the red.
A man of the people. He's keeping Filppula but moving him to the wing. It's truly groundbreaking stuff.
He was
All
on
right.
waivers today. I literally missed that. I found out an hour ago Philpa was on waivers. It was that inconsequential of a move.
We are at the point where once a week Yzerman chooses an aging veteran that is not at all a risk to be claimed, and even if they do get claimed, who cares, and waives them. I think just to do it, just to feel something. No, it's for roster cap flexibility, but roster flexibility. But we'll get into that. All right, the Red Wings played last night. It's currently Wednesday night. They played last night against Columbus, a game which they lost 4-1. It was the first poor Jonathan Bernier performance, or at least a game that didn't go Jonathan Bernier's way that's happened in a little while. The game wasn't Jonathan Bernier's fault, I don't think. He didn't do his usual thing, which was heroically save the team. He just, didn't stand on his head this time, and that is perfectly fine. It was the third straight game that the Red Wings scored a power play goal in.
And gave up a shorthanded goal. But yeah, I mean, and they probably should have had another. I still have no idea how Robbie Fabry didn't score on that empty net when Christian Juice walked around a couple Blue Jackets defenders into the slot and made that beautiful pass back door. But I mean, part of this is regressing to the mean, because we knew in that 0-for-40 slump, as bad as the power play is, they had some looks. They had some chances that more often than not would go in. So the fact now that pucks are routinely going in, because I think they were 3-for-4 on the power play in a stretch there, makes sense. It was good to see Mantha shoot the puck. This is why I like having him on the left side, because teams, I mean, I would rather Zadina on the right side opposite him, but having him on the left side there is good, because when he comes out in circles at the top of the circle, he can do exactly that. And yeah, the goal is nice, but they ran that exact play. I don't think it was more than 10 seconds before, and he had a good chance off of it that handcuffed Korpisalo but didn't go in. So screw it, do it again. And it worked. It was great. The power play looked competent. The shorthanded goal sucked, but that was a lot of bad timing, a bit of a fluke luck, and they were being aggressive, which led to a 2-on-1 for Columbus. So I guess you got to take the good with the bad. At least they were being aggressive. It was good. It was a pretty uneventful first period. I feel like the Columbus goal and that goal were the only two things that happened that entire period. But hey, it was a cautiously optimistic start.
And then the screen went dark and we didn't see what happened for the rest of the game.
I wish.
By the end of it, it was, I think, statistically one of the worst games the Red Wings have played over the course of the season. There were if you look at game score, in case you care about that, it's funny because you see the list of every player on both teams and how they ranked in terms of their game score. And legitimately, almost every single Columbus Blue Jacket was above every single Detroit Red Wing. I think the only ones that weren't were the only Red Wings that ranked above any Columbus Blue Jacket were Anthony Mantha, who was Detroit's best player statistically that night, Grice, who came in relief, Christian Juice. And then that's it.
Oh, this is such a long season. Oh my God.
It was a bad performance. And it's funny because usually those performances come on the heels of top Red Wings players like Mantha doing poorly. That said, Bertuzzi's still out, Larkin's still out, Stetra's still out. The Red Wings are hurt. And games like these are going to be more common when you're missing some of your best players like that.
Yeah.
It's not a game to go screaming, fire whoever, trade whoever, blah, 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 whoever, because it's kind of what the Red Wings have been all year. So it's no real deviation from the norm. I just wish there were a couple more things we could have drawn in terms of hey, here are some silver linings. I don't know. It's hard because a lot of these games happen, and the only thing that's different is Jonathan Bernier makes a few key saves and stands on his head and does something that really the Red Wings didn't deserve to have in terms of goaltending. But this time, the Columbus shooters shot phenomenally, let me say that. Those were excellent shots they placed. And Bernier was just at par, slightly subpar last night, and that happens. He can't stand on his head every game. I'm hardly going to, nail the guy to the wall for that.
I will not tolerate this Jonathan Bernier slander. Let me start with this. 3 of those shots, like you said, there's not a goalie in the league who was stopping any of those. Cam Atkinson slap shot point blank on a 2-on-1 that goes just under the bar, high glove. Nobody's getting that. Boone Jenner literally put one in off the junction of the crossbar and the post. You could not place that shot any better, which high on Bernier's blocker side, and Jenner's a left-handed shot, so that makes it even tougher. The one goal was a deflection where that thing was going over the net and then it got deflected halfway and ended up going very low. No goalie stopping that unless it just happens to hit you. So I don't blame Bernier for any of Columbus's 4 goals. The one I would have blamed him for got called back on an offside review, so it didn't matter. But my key takeaway from this game, and I understand the Red Wings were shorthanded, but Columbus was coming into this game ice cold. One of the worst teams in the league over the previous 2 weeks. There's more chatter in Columbus about Tortorella getting fired than there is in Detroit about Blashill getting fired right now. So take that for what it's worth. But Mickey accidentally kind of showed what the Red Wings' problem was that game before it happened. I think it was the first goal to make it 2-1, the one that was ultimately disallowed, but I think right after it was scored, Mickey said, okay, down 2-1, now they're going to see if they can get back into it, or, this will test their resolve or something along those lines. And then the Red Wings allowed 3 goals in the next 4 minutes. And this was the one thing we were hoping to avoid last year is, hey, when it gets bad, just don't crumble. You're not a good team. It's going to get bad. It's fine. Just keep playing. And don't let the wheels fall off the bus. The wheels didn't fall off the bus. They exploded. Because, again, it was, and I'm pretty sure, so if you count the disallowed goal, there was 4 Columbus goals in about 3 to 5 minutes. And I think Columbus hit a post in that span, too. So it's just, that's the type of thing you can't see. If the rest of the game went the way that did, and the Red Wings lose that game 2-1, 3-1, we're not happy. But it's fine. It's just another boring whatever game that the Red Wings lost. But the fact that they can have an implosion like that again, after seeing it happen time and time again for the last 3 years and even a couple times this season, it's just disheartening.
Well, the good news is it's one game, and the next game is offering some kind of excitement. It's the fabled March 4th date against Carolina that we were talking about. And so it's important to note that by the time you're listening to this game has likely happened, or what we're talking about will have been discussed. So obviously the news here is that Carolina has Andrei Svechnikov. The Red Wings currently have Evgeny Svechnikov up in Detroit. So there have been opportunities in the past for Evgeny Svechnikov to play his brother, Andrei, when Detroit has played Carolina. And it's either through injury or through being sent down or whatever it might be that it hasn't happened. The talk about it happening this year is, I think, fair because it's so long overdue. The Red Wings play Carolina again on the 14th and the 16th, admittedly. So if it doesn't happen tomorrow, whatever. But it's almost not whatever. So Svechnikov was sent down to the taxi squad with Brome today. The typical paper move where those players who are eligible to get sent down paid less, saved the real dollars and, accrual and cap space, blah, blah, blah. You've heard the story. When asked today, Jeff Blashill wouldn't commit to saying Svechnikov would definitely be playing tomorrow. And look, I get it. Blashill is the biggest believer and purveyor of like the typical coach speak, like, we make those decisions and I'll sit down with the coaching staff and we'll see what makes sense each night and we'll see how the boys do in practice. And, you got to earn your way on the squad. So nothing is guaranteed. And it doesn't matter if it's guaranteed that Svechnikov is going to play tomorrow, which I think in all likelihood is going to happen. I think Svechnikov has played well enough to stay on the roster, and there's really no getting around. Like, we've joked about the bobblehead night before. Like, this one actually matters. This is a family thing. Stuff like this matters in the NHL. I don't think there's a way that Blashill or anyone else can pretend that this isn't a storyline. Again, by the time you're listening to this, it's likely that something will have happened. I think the likelihood is that Svechnikov plays, and if it's that he got sent back down or didn't get recalled from the taxi squad, you'll probably hear from us pretty soon. My frustration here is Jeff Blashill just, it's been a tough rise for Svechnikov with the injury and with being sent down on previous occasions when he could have played his brother. Just say, yeah, he's going to be in. It's going to be a good moment. Why not just do that? Why make it frustrating? Is it the end of the world to do this coach speak? No, but just the small, nice things this season go a long way, especially for the fans. The fans care about this.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack in that one little statement. And we make the jokes about Cholowski bobblehead night because bobblehead joke about getting scratched. It's funny. Let's not forget, Blashill did also scratch Cholowski for his hometown game.
That was the more important one in my mind. Yeah.
It was absolutely the more important one. It was his first game in his hometown. His entire family was there, and Blashill scratched him. Players don't forget stuff like that, whether it's minor hockey, junior hockey, NHL. Stuff like this matters to the players. There's a reason people still talk about what Mike Babcock did to Mike Commodore, did to Mike Modano, did to Jason Spezza, because it's garbage. We're not talking about a playoff game where every little minor difference matters. We're not talking about superstar players. I like Evgeny Svechnikov. I think he could be a good Red Wing for a long time. Not like a huge impact player, but he could be good. But an Evgeny Svechnikov or a Val Filppula in the lineup right now makes no difference to this team. I will argue that the team's better with Svechnikov versus a Filppula, but I understand that there's a likely reality Svechnikov finishes, if he plays 56 games this season, he finishes with like 15 points and Filppula finishes with 10. It's not a huge thing. But that's kind of the point. When you have a feel-good story like this upcoming, that means so much to a guy who's had so much go wrong in his career so far, in the middle of a goddamn pandemic where the fans, the players, everybody is grasping for just a little bit of enjoyment. And ultimately, it's going to make no difference in your season. You play Svechnikov in this game 100 out of 100 times, whether or not his play dictates it. Here's the thing. His play dictates it. He deserves to be in this lineup. We were banging the drum for weeks to put him in the lineup just to let him shake the rust off. He hadn't played so long. And then he comes in and he's a point per game player for three games. He's outscoring half the forwards on this team. He's played 3 games. He doesn't look like a defensive liability. He looks strong on the puck. He looks quick relative to his knee surgery. He should be in this lineup. And then to come out and be non-committal about it today, if we had asked Blashill this question on Monday and he was non-committal about it, fair. We have the whole Columbus game. We don't know what's going to happen. There's no more games between now and the Carolina game. Svechnikov can't do anything at this point to piss off Blashill. Like, you know what you have in Svechnikov, and then you factor in, there's no Larkin, there's no Bertuzzi, there are roster spots available. It is not like we are pulling Tyler Bertuzzi out of the lineup to put Svechnikov in. This is the type of thing that goes a long way with the team. If they scratch Svechnikov tomorrow, he will never truly play for Jeff Blashill. That will be in the back of his head until he gets traded or Blashill gets fired. And it's not just Svechnikov. Players are close. Svechnikov, by all reports, is one of the most popular guys in Detroit. He is unfathomably kind and nice and just one of those guys. Read Sarah Sivian's article where she interviewed the brothers together, and Evgeny's response is, man, this guy cares. His teammates will notice if you scratch him, and they'll remember that.
I do want to say, I don't think it's worth getting angry about Svechnikov not playing, because I think he's going to. I would bet quite a bit of money.
That's the whole preface. This is me saying all this in the context of Jeff. Why the hell could you just not say today he's playing and let everybody get excited? I think he'll play. There's no good reason for him to not play. Roster decisions, COVID, whatever. There's no good reason. I don't even know if they have another forward to put in his place right now. Just say it. Let his family get excited. Let him and his brother get excited. If they already know and you've told them, you're just not telling us, fine. Let us get excited. Like, this is a storyline Red Wings fans have been talking about for over a year. Years. and we haven't got to enjoy it yet. This is a season where you are losing fans. Like, I lose track of my interactions on Twitter during a game. Last night's Columbus game was the lowest interaction I have seen. Fans have checked out, and it's going down every game. Overall tweets, not even just interactions with me, overall volume of content I see on Twitter for last night's game was way lower than usual. Red Wings fans are struggling to find reasons to watch this team. Putting Svechnikov in tomorrow gives us a reason. So not only is it dumb from a coaching decision, it's dumb from a money-making decision. I can't understand at all from any context why he couldn't have just said, yeah, Svech is in tomorrow, let's have some fun.
Yeah, I think you exactly nailed that, and I'm sorry for cutting you off because you're bringing that into a perfect point. It's not about the fact that he's likely going to play or likely not going to play, because again, he's likely going to play, and by the time you're listening to this, you're going to say, Brad, Ryan, maybe Evan, he's already played. It's why not just take a second, break the fourth wall, and say, hey, yeah, it's going to be a good moment. Like, it's a tough season, but what a good moment. We're even going to throw them out there, and we've agreed that they're going to take the opening face-off against each other. It's just those little things. And you're totally right, Brad. Instead of being hyped for it, instead of this episode talking about how fun this is and just, moving on because it's like a medium-sized story, two brothers playing against each other, there's now the extended frustration from Red Wings fans. People getting worked up as to whether he's going to play or not, and their frustrations with Blashill, and it all could have been avoided. It's small. It's a mountain being made out of a molehill, but it never needed to be this way.
And we have the content, and the problem is, I'm with you, Ryan. I think he plays. I'm 90% sure he plays. There's no reason for him to not play. He's played great in his call-up, especially relative to expectation. But we've seen this with Cholowski. This isn't coming out of the blue. It's happened with this coach. So now we can't even play the odds on this one because it's happened so much. And if you want, and Blashill's a disciple of Babcock. And if we go back to the Babcock era when they were part of the same staff, holy shit, this becomes a really big trend. So yeah, no, we can enjoy it, even though the odds say we should be able to enjoy it, because that thought won't leave the back of our head till we see the lineup.
Mm-hmm. Anyhow, we'll have more perspective on this next episode. Assuming that Svechnikov does play, it'll be a cool moment in an otherwise mostly bleak season. So fingers crossed, just the basic box gets checked and we can have a little #nice thing. News today, like we mentioned before, Valtteri Filppula sent down on waivers, much like his predecessors, Franz Nielsen and Danny DeKeyser. Likelihood of being picked up, next to none. What does it do? Barely saves any cap space. It doesn't save any real dollars. He's paid the exact same amount. This is all about roster flexibility, which is a good thing. It's not an inconsequential move from a roster standpoint. If you're a big fan of guys like Svechnikov and Rasmussen and Giovanni Smith and what have you playing, this is the kind of move you like to see. So I think this is the third or fourth straight week, or third time in 4 weeks or whatever it is that this has happened. So good on Steve Yzerman. Small moves, but it's essentially what you can do to get guys up this season. And this is what Yzerman talked about before the year, and Jeff Blashill as well. Guys are going to be cycling in and out of the taxi squad in the AHL and the NHL, and hey, if you have 56 games and you're not going to win a lot of them, you might as well get as many of these guys in for decent looks as possible. Okay. The Red Wings trade board. We've talked about this before. Luke Glendening and how phenomenal his face-off percentage is. He's the Red Wings' biggest trade piece that's likely to be moved. Jonathan Bernier, another player, he's, as usual, playing pretty lights out relative to the team he's playing behind. You never know with goalies, but if any team is looking for a goalie, he'll be top of that list or very near to it. Bobby Ryan, Mark Stahl, both guys that could get moved. Bobby Ryan was kind of earmarked to get moved even as he was signed. That was kind of part of the agreement that they might move him to a contending team. Mark Stahl, if he continues to, on the surface impress people, someone might make an offer, and I don't see Yzerman saying no to moving a guy that he got a second-round pick to attain. the one I want to talk about today, there's two people that Craig Cousins on The Athletic listed as being possible, moving pieces that Eisman was listening to offers. Tyler Bertuzzi and Anthony Mantha. Over this, I think it was the summer, the first time I mentioned the Mantha thing. And I even said, I don't want to bring this up right now because people get angry. And I kind of screwed myself. It's like missing the boat on the GameStop stock. And all of a sudden instead of buying in at 90, now I'm buying in at 350. I'm going to burn myself on this. But hey, it's a Red Wings podcast. We're going to talk about it. I'm sure you both are going to have maybe differing opinions. Moving Anthony Mantha long term is something that I believe would be more beneficial. I'm not 100% on that, but if we're on a sliding scale, I'm on the move Mantha long term side of it. And that has nothing to do with this season. It's not about the fact that he's underperformed this season, which he has, and it's not about, being pissed off about his effort and just get rid of him. It's not that at all. If you consider his age and you consider how long the Red Wings have in the rebuild before they're competitive again, which is a long time, and you consider his cost-controlled cap hit, if someone makes a right offer, I think you move him because it would probably align better with the Red Wings' long-term future. That said, this comes with a big caveat of I don't move him as he's playing right now because his value is plummeted, and I do not want to undersell on the asset.
Yeah, if people are willing to pay last year's premium today, sure, I guess. The problem here is entirely in the deal, because I'm not going to say whether or not we should move Anthony Mantha, because I've said it time and time again, I would trade every single person in this organization for the right offer. But the right offer is hard to find, because the thing with Mantha, like Ryan said, is he's 26. So yeah, by the time the Red Wings are contending again, like unbelievably best case scenario, he's hovering around 30, which isn't useless. Like there's value in that, and he'll probably still be an effective player, maybe not to this level, but if it's in the fourth year of this contract, well, that will be actually pretty good value still. So it's worth factoring that in. I'm not trading him for anybody close to his age because that would be a lateral move, and I'm not trading him for draft picks because that's too risky. We know what Anthony Mantha is, and the teams that are going to want Anthony Mantha aren't giving you a top 15 pick. And outside of a top 15 pick, you're not likely getting a player like Anthony Mantha. And Anthony Mantha is the type of player I don't want to move for bulk. I need a central quality piece coming back. If a team like, I got to pick a basement feeder that's not too far, LA comes and offers their first round pick for Anthony Mantha this year, that's probably going to be around 10. You consider that. Even though you don't want to move him for a draft pick, that's a worthwhile gamble. You have to find the right team, the right time, the right spot with the right surplus of prospects. Now, there are a lot of teams that will fit that bill, but how much do you value their prospects? So a team like Toronto, assuming they have the cap space, they don't, but let's just assume they do. They come at you for Anthony Mantha because they're in their cup window. They're very close to a cup. They're a favorite. Anthony Mantha will help that. And they want to, and they're going to be in their window for a few years. So it makes sense that he has term on his contract. Does Nick Robertson get that trade done for you? For me, it wouldn't. How much more do they have to add with Nick Robertson to get Mantha? I'd say at a bare minimum, a first round pick. But I don't think Nick Robertson's going to be Anthony Mantha, and I don't think a late first round pick is going to net us anything more than a third line player. So you're basically trading a second liner and a third liner for Anthony Mantha. Do you make that trade? Do you like that trade? I don't, but that's probably going to be pretty close to the asking price in a reasonable Anthony Mantha trade, where the Red Wings would get lucky, and it probably doesn't happen this year, is if there's a team like Los Angeles who's turning the corner because their rebuild's well ahead of the Red Wings, but they're still, bottom to middle of the pack team. When they want to turn that corner, they're like, okay, we want a Mantha. They can't fit all of their prospects into the lineup because, my God, they have so many. They're not getting Byfield and Turcotte and Kaliev and Bjornfot, and I could keep going and going and going. And they come at you with one of those prospects. Okay, we want to be good now. I'm not saying this is the guy, but I'll use him as a hypothetical. We want to be good now, but we don't have a spot for Alex Turcotte. Mantha for Turcotte. Would you do that? That's the type of trade the Red Wings should be ideally looking for. Not that it's going to be Turcotte specifically, but you're looking for that high-end prospect that you're reasonably certain is going to be good. That is 4, 5, 6 years younger than Anthony Mantha. And you just got to find the team that has that can afford to lose a prospect like that. There's not many of them. They're not usually willing to give them up. Last year, the St. Louis fans were willing to write off Jordan Kyrou and trade him for just about anybody, and he's arguably their best player this year. So it's hard. But and believe me, for me, it's a big if you're moving Anthony Mantha, that's what I'm looking for, and I'm not really moving off of it.
Man, I would be grinning ear to ear if we got Alex Turcotte for Anthony Mantha. We're moving down in age and probably up in skill. But I think the hard thing is like, what is Anthony Mantha worth at this point? Like, I feel like I'm super divided on what Anthony Mantha is. I see a high-end goal scorer who can fly like the wind and can score at ease. But then this year, I'm not sure what I see. And I honestly think if you're going to move on from Mantha, you're going to have to gamble with the return. I don't think the initial value will be realized until down the road. And I feel like if they traded Mantha, we'd probably be upset with the return at first. That's just my gut feeling on it because it's going to be unrealized.
It's the most reasonable take, right? Like, we can theorize about whatever player we'd want, you know, whether Turcotte or this prospect or that prospect, but we're speaking as, you know, from a Red Wings perspective. And Evan's right. Like, you're going to have to gamble and you're going to hate it at first. Honestly, what I see, like, let's say Anthony Mantha moves anytime within the next 12 months, assuming he's playing at a level close to where he is now, which is not good enough compared to what Anthony Mantha could be doing. The best thing you can hope for is what happened when the Erik Karlsson trade happened, when everyone was like, oh, that's a weird return for Karlsson. You would have expected more. Now, obviously, that shook out in a very different way, and that's not the point here. But yeah, you would have to gamble on the return if you're trading Mantha with his value as is right now, which is why I would advocate for probably not this year unless Mantha all of a sudden starts torching it again. You're probably looking at a 2022 or maybe even 2023 trade. When Mantha looks good, he looks unreal. But when Mantha is underperforming, the way he appears on the ice, it's going to turn coaches and GMs off from wanting to trade for him. So they're going to try to either lowball Detroit or they're not even going to be interested. So my answer is a stupid cop-out, fence-sitting answer, but it's long-term trade, but only if he gets his performance back up. We'll reevaluate in maybe a year or 18 months as to whether it'll ever come back up.
I think what you do is you hold on to him for now unless a team just comes out of nowhere and gives you an offer you can't refuse. Because, like it or not, the team still needs names that people recognize and sell jerseys and, you know, are one of the faces of the franchise. So if there's no ultra enticing offer, I think you hold on to him and you see what shakes out with his production and then go from there. And, you know, maybe we're looking next season and he's on a huge goal pace and maybe that's the time that you make the move. But I still like Anthony Mantha. I think even in his later years, as this team rounds the corner and they develop their core, he could be a huge piece and a huge supplementary piece to the team. It's just right now it's tough. It's very tough.
All right, so let's play a hypothetical. If you could go through the standings, go through the league, find a team that's in a position where they probably want to add someone like Anthony Mantha, what would be your ask from them? So, and when I mean ask, be realistic. Obviously, what's the minimum you would take from that
Alex
team?
Ovechkin Not moving anywhere else.
Gotcha.
Alex Ovechkin 10 years ago.
Perfect. I love it. So, okay, well, let's just pick one team and let's do the one that is involved in every Mantha rumor. Montreal. What would you actually need from Montreal to trade Anthony Mantha?
Nick Suzuki.
They're in win now, so let's assume they're not giving up anything from the active roster of consequence.
First round pick and Ryan Poehling.
Do they do that?
Thoughts?
I have my answer, and Montreal would laugh me off the phone, but
Am I out to lunch on that?
no, I think you're in the ballpark of what would actually happen. I would hate that trade, but I think that's
Xavier Roulette in a first round pick. I've heard good things about his offensive production.
I actually don't even think they would do Poehling in a first.
I don't think so either.
Poehling isn't highly viewed in Montreal anymore. You could probably get him, and their first round pick's going to be around probably pick 20 this year, so I don't think it's that consequential. But if I'm the Red Wings and Montreal calls, okay, we're in it to win it this year. We're going for the cup. What we need Mantha now. I'm Cole Caulfield straight up, or I'm hanging up the phone.
Oh,
it would never happen. It would never happen. But that's my value of Anthony Mantha, because if Mantha, he's been terrible this year, and statistically, he's still one of the best Red Wings. If Mantha gets his shit together, we know he's a 30 to 40 goal scorer. What's Cole Caulfield's best case scenario? A 30 to 40 goal scorer who's going to have a lesser dimension than Mantha because he doesn't have the board presence and, likely, as weird as this sounds, the defensive acumen that Anthony Mantha has, because Mantha's defensive metrics are great, largely because he's huge and gets in every lane. So what to me is Cole Caulfield's best case scenario? It's Anthony Mantha. Except we're regressing 6 years, which is what we want.
It's too idealized, though, because and we're guilty of this, I think, more than we like to think. We are constantly evaluating based on the idealized version of Mantha. And there's something to be said about players. Players can have a way more raw skill than they are actually, utilizing. It refer back to Evan's analogy previously, which was like unrealized versus realized gains, that kind of thing. You can probably copy paste that onto this argument. You have more often than not players that go through their entire careers without sniffing their max potential. Mantha's 26. We know the kind of player he is. Right now he's slumping. If he slumps for another year, is he slumping, or did he just peak and there's an effort issue, or there is a, finding your game, as much as I hate stupid intangible throwaway phrases like that. Those are real things that not only matter to GMs and coaches, they matter for on-ice production. And you're right, Brad. Mantha at his worst right now is still one of the better Red Wings on this team, but you cannot get past the fact that Mantha has probably spent more, we've spent more time, substantially more time, talking about the player Mantha could be rather than enjoying the player we know Mantha can be.
Except for last season.
Yeah.
He was a damn near a point per game player last year for 40 something games. And the injury sucked, but that's not nothing. Mantha lit up Montreal last year, so they saw firsthand what he's capable of. And just to flip the other side of this, if I'm Marc Bergevin, and you call me and you say, I'm giving up my first round pick in 2021 and Ryan Poehling, I will be submitting the paperwork to the NHL office before you hang up the phone. Like that would be a ridiculous deal for Montreal. They would say yes 1,000 out of 1,000 times.
Would they?
Yes.
Well, actually,
no doubt in my mind. They'd be insane if they didn't.
Marc Bergevin is definitely the GM you'd want to target here because, one, the French-Canadian connection. That will never go away with Montreal. Two, Marc Bergevin is fighting for his job right now.
Yeah, he's
firing Claude Julien, firing his goalie coach in the middle of a game, which is bizarre. He is fighting for his job right now, and he's not going to get the saves, so he's going to try to pay for the goals. You got to get a GM, a Bergevin and Chiarelli, that kind of thing, to overpay. That's a prime target right there.
And just to throw a big old can of gasoline on this fire, what is Montreal struggling with right now?
Goaltending
and scoring.
GMs.
They don't score enough. They scored a lot at the beginning of the season, but that has tailed off. They don't have an Anthony Mantha on that team. they don't have that natural gifted goal scorer. So they need to save from Carey Price, and they need someone to start putting the puck in the net.
I'm going to wrap this with one single thought. Anthony Mantha's slump, I don't think will go away until he is allowed to play Toronto and fight Jake Muzzin. I think this is a voodoo curse thing. And with the divisions being realigned, we're in some kind of holding pattern until that can be resolved. Doesn't matter who wins the fight. It just needs to happen. So as fun as you might think the North Division is, we can hope for reamalgamation next year. All right, before we move on, I want to talk to you about this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast being proudly brought to you by our sponsors, the FanDuel Sportsbook. We're thrilled to partner with them as they give us fans what we really need, more excitement in the game. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook for so many reasons. It's easy to use from registration to deposits and finding great bets. Withdrawals are quick and easy. You get your money back in as quick as 24 hours, and they're constantly running great odds and special bets. Now listen to this. FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Just place a bet on any game and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back if you don't win your first bet. No strings attached. If you win, you keep the cash. If you lose, you'll get up to $1,000 back in site credit. We wish we can bet on games like tomorrow's Carolina versus Detroit Svechnikov Bowl. That would be a great time to use the $1,000 risk-free bet that we hope the listeners do use. What you need to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started with a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. Be sure to sign up with promo code WWP so they know the Winged Wheel podcast sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code WWP. You must be 21 and older and present in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, West Virginia, Indiana, Colorado, Iowa, Tennessee, Virginia, or Michigan. First online real money wager only. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, or Virginia. Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789 in Tennessee. www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-270-7117 in Michigan. All right. News from around the Red Wings prospect world. I just want to give some love to Keith Petruzzelli. He went 6-0-1 in the month of February. 1.39 goals against average, 938 save percentage with Quinnipiac playing college hockey. So that is the Red Wings goalie, the face of the Red Wings goalie pipeline right now. He's taken over from Larson in recent years. Hobey Baker finalist as well. I'm hesitant to declare Keith Petruzzelli the goalie of the future because I think we got really excited about Larson as well. But man, for Larson to kind of maybe have an off year or two, it was really important for someone else to step up and fill that void because the goalie answer is not answered. And Petruzzelli deserves a ton of recognition there.
I mean, he always had the raw athletic ability. It was just a matter of putting it together. And hey, it took him all 4 years in Quinnipiac to do it. But oh boy, has he been good this year. So I was reading something about the plan for him is to finish out the year in Quinnipiac and then sign his pro contract with Detroit. If not, he could become a free agent. So obviously Detroit will need to get on that sooner rather than later. But if Quinnipiac doesn't go deep, I kind of want to see him in Grand Rapids for a few games this year. So he's our best bet. That's the reality of it. So with Larson's injuries and subsequent struggles, if you had to put your money on a horse in this Red Wings goaltending race, yeah, it's Petruzzelli right now.
I don't know if I'm putting money on a horse. Goaltending is
voodoo.
Yep. And especially, you never know who's going to come up to answer the bell for the Red Wings starting goalie. But right now, the Red Wings goalie future looks like Jonathan Bernier. And that's it. News from around the league. Mark Bergevin says he told Stefan Waite, who is the goaltending coach, he was fired during the second period last night. We talked best when they fired Julien about, this is Bergevin, not death throes, but he's really scrambling to get something here. What is the purpose of firing a goaltending coach halfway through a game? What does that do?
Best excuse I can think of is they didn't want it to be a distraction before the game.
No.
Yeah, it's reaching. I know. I don't have anything good. That just seems insane to me. But didn't even Montreal win that game? Like, I thought that Price only allowed 1 goal. So I can't imagine it was a moment of, that's it. I can't take this anymore after Price lets in 5 or something like that. It wasn't one of those games. So I don't know. It's just confusing. Did he just bump him in the hall? Oh, by the way, pack your shit, get out.
It was definitely, a fight or some kind of something boiled over. My thing is, it's not even a bad move, right? Like, Carey Price, your $10.5 million goalie, you can't exactly just fire him. So you have to do something to change up his performance. Bring in someone else to get whatever you can out of Carey Price, because you absolutely need to if you're going to win with this team. I don't think he can, but it's his job to try, because he can't exactly rebuild, because then he's gone for sure. It's just funny. Does it matter? No, but it's just funny, and it's signs of dysfunction. And hey, we rip on Buffalo, but what's Montreal if not Buffalo? Or what's Buffalo if not Montreal in 5 years? Is that dramatic to say? Probably. I don't know. I don't think you can draw any direct comparisons between any team in the NHL and Buffalo and how their rebuild, which has been, I think, the entire millennium so far, has gone. But such a stupid, bizarre situation. I have so much hope that Marc Bergevin will just make panic moves and trades and overpay for someone from Detroit.
I heard they're struggling on faceoffs.
I am edging towards the point where I think Detroit gets a second for Glendening.
I can't. That's insane to me, and I love it. Oh my God. If there wasn't a pandemic right now, I would bet they get a second for Glendening. The pandemic still is going to throw a wrench into trade values, but oh man, could you imagine if there wasn't?
I almost want the trade deadline to be tomorrow, just so there's no time for his face-off percentage to regress to the mean, even though it does live, like, it is fueled every time a commentator talks about his face-off percentage. He wins 9 out of his next 10 face-offs. So that's why he's riding such a hot streak right now.
And
so
you know
go ahead.
And you know what's going to happen after we trade him?
It's going to plummet.
We're going to get that commentary every time the Red Wings lose a face-off. Oh, this is where they're missing Luke.
Oh, no. Oh, boy. Anyways, let's jump into overtime here. We're going to take questions and comments from, on this midweek episode, our Patreon supporters exclusively. They are the people that make this show go round. So thank you all so much. You allow us to pay Evan's wages just for being here. He is not cheap, let me tell you that. A lot of comments there. We're going to start with Quaz, who says, will Svech play Svech? Only time will tell. Also, bravo Larry Murphy for expressing his true opinion on the reverse retro jerseys. Oh, we didn't even talk about those.
Yeah, they were about as memorable as you would expect.
Yeah.
Were they ugly? No. What do I remember really what they look like on the ice off the top of my head? No, not really. They were so boring.
My hot take is that I thought they were fine. I didn't like how they meshed with the helmets and the pants, and nothing can make me forget how disappointing they were in the face of all the other jerseys they could be. And I will still buy one when they go on sale because no one's buying them. Andrew Bohan says, good morning, my lovely Dub. Host, in your opinion, would it be preferable to re-sign Bernier now or try to get him after he goes to UFA and protect Grice? Also, how long before Blashill gets bored of seeing Svechnikov?
I have no preference if we keep or lose Grice. That being said, I don't think when it comes to the expansion draft, the Red Wings goaltending is going to be an issue because they do have an interesting dilemma on defense now, which is where I think the Red Wings are most likely to lose a player.
La Plata Peak says, how many first-round picks do the Wings need to have in 2021 before Brad would be okay with taking Jesper Wallstedt in the top 5?
This includes top 5.
This includes if Hughes, Power, Clark, Beniers, and Johnson are available.
After 5. So you're telling me one of Hughes, Beniers, Johnson, Power is available at pick 6? Cool. I need the only way I'm comfortable then taking Wallstedt at 5 is if our second first round pick is 6th, 7th, or 8th. Otherwise,
Brad,
no chance.
Evan, we really need to go hard on the Wallstedt train just to piss off Brad.
I agree.
I like Wallstedt. I'm just not picking him in the top 10. I'm never picking a goalie in the top 10.
Mika's here. Cody Stark says, please delete my Twitter account for me. I wish that was Brad, but unfortunately it's Cody. So Cody, no, if we have to suffer Brad, you're going to have to suffer with us. Arjun Shankar says, you got to get a mod in the Patreon Discord. Yes, if anyone wants to help, if anyone has experience modding Discord channels and wants to help out with that on the Patreon exclusive Winged Wheel Podcast Discord, give us a shout on Discord. Also, since overtime is roughly a third of the show and it's usually filled with garbage that you have an obligation to see, I think you should rename it to the third period collapse. I'm happy I didn't pre-read that comment. That was funny.
That would be a lot better and on brand.
Brent Razmik says, which team will be in rebuild mode the longest? Wings, Sens, Sharks, or Sabres?
Sharks.
I think we're a little further ahead than the Sharks.
I'm going to go Sabres here because I don't have any faith that they figure out the Jack Eichel situation well. AJ Voss says, I really had hope that the reverse retros would be better with full gears. But like everything Red Wings related this season, I was disappointed. They could have popped if they just made the gray stripes red and went to the old Gordie Howe era white jerseys. What are the odds Wings wanted to do that, but the league said, well, no, if you change the colors, it's just a retro, not a reverse retro. So they tacked on gray to not have to pay the design team more. I heard something funny between, Adidas or the team wanting to do something different. It was all kind of rumors, so I don't want to substantiate it too much more. But you could even tell by how often the Red Wings are rolling it out. The poor Red Wings social media team who had to tweet out, these are when the jerseys are being played. They're not they know that no one likes it. The team knows that no one likes them. They're just trying to be done with these. That's why the last time we're going to see them is Thursday against Carolina, and that is it. They have to get it right next time, though. Brad, the message you just sent in the group chat. Evan, when you get a chance, look at the messenger chat. That's hysterical. Wow, you make me real excited for kids, Brad. Should I tell the host or should I tell the listeners?
No, I don't care, but nobody can ever say parenting isn't weird, man.
You can hear Mika in the washroom right next to Brad with the door open. And that's where I'll leave it. Callan S. says, DeKaiser still does not know how to pass or shoot. It's frustrating. I'd love to say that's going to change, but it won't. Nate Schwartz says, if the Red Wings decide to trade one or both of Mantha and Bertuzzi, what is your ideal return? We chatted about that. Wingnut says, last year people claimed the Wings were intentionally tanking, but I defended them, that they just sucked from years of trying. This year it seems tougher to make the claim. They're intentionally keeping their best young players who might be good away while playing known black holes, in the lineup instead. Is this year more obvious intentional tanking from everyone, coaching staff and up? The players are trying to win, of course. I think it's definitely a passable excuse when Eisman and Blashill say that they can't just bring up the young guys and expose them to this kind of a bad team, but there's definitely something to be said for the amount that, the Filppula and the Nielsen's and DeKaisers and whatnot have been played. I think it's a combination of both. That's that. The thing is, if they're up, like what Brad said before, what's Svechnikov going to get? 15 points compared to Filppula's 10? It's not going to move the needle a lot. They're still going to finish where they're going to finish. I'd be shocked if it had much movement on the standings, so I don't know if I'd scream tank quite yet, but it's a fair point. RC Tendy says, can we please get a Svechnikov versus Svechnikov opening night face-off? I want this so badly, but we know Blashill will be a dick and scratch him. Also, with Raymond being out the rest of the regular season for Fulunda, I hope they can get eliminated before he comes back so we can jump onto the Griffins. Antonio Gracias says, just stopped by to thank Evan for his driver and hitting net. Was a bit surprised when the driver was shaped like a hockey stick a la Happy Gilmore, and the net had a picture of Brad's face with his teeth blacked out and a villain mustache penciled in. Stay fresh, Evan. Evan, you have to add a Brad aim board right in the middle of your hitting net now, right?
It's very funny we're talking about my hitting net because I was just tonight thinking how I could probably fit it in our garage.
You have that much confidence that you are not going to just put that through a wall.
You just stand closer to the net.
I've missed a hitting net before. Wide.
Same. So have I. Yeah, that ball went way further than it should have.
Yeah. Evan's neighbors hate him.
What's left of them. English Major says, "Sup guys, it's time for your favorite game. Who says no?" Incoming Brad eye roll. If Arizona's shopping Clayton Keller, and with Arizona trying to cut money, Anthony Mantha for Clayton Keller. Who says no?
Who says no?
Yeah.
Probably Detroit, just because I know Yzerman values his cap flexibility and Keller's comes with more AAV and more term.
I'm actually not too familiar with Keller's game recently, so I'll take your word on that. Hear me out. Arizona's a bunch of cheapskates. Mantha has less money in turn, plus Keller is younger. Also, before I forget, and this is really important to me, Tony DeAngelo can eat all of my back hair. Gross. But that's a good one.
Anyways, for reference, Clayton Keller's got 14 points in 21 games this year, but he is signed at $7 million a year for at least 5 more years, from what I remember.
That would put him above that would put him in the Red Wings lead, correct?
Yeah, but he's also over his last 2 full seasons put up 47 and 44 points.
Matt says, "I'm trying to be optimistic about Mantha. Do you think there's a chance he's so focused on staying healthy that he's almost playing scared? It wouldn't excuse him forgetting to play basic defense. I'm just hoping he's not pulling a Pierre-Luc Dubois. I don't think this is a trying to stay healthy thing. It's not like I don't see that part of his game suffering. He's been clamoring for a fight recently, actually." Brad's anger manifested says, "How does a team go from putting up nearly 50 shots on Chicago to throwing up a mere 20 against Columbus? Watching Columbus finding the tightest of spaces under the crossbar and then seeing Detroit put up 1 shot in the first 12 minutes of the second period was brutal." 1, experience Red Wings hockey. 2, the Chicago statisticians are on something, and I want whatever it is. Jet Ski Guy Stan Club says, "I was watching the Oilers game, and towards the end of it, the broadcasters mentioned how badly they needed a right-handed centerman who could win faceoffs in the D zone, and I lost it. We may be entering the part of the rebuild where Stevie drafts a franchise goalie with the first-round pick Kent Holland sent him for a depth player. You joke, but..."
And Holland has brought a lot of former Red Wings to Edmonton. Let's not forget Sheahan, Yurko, a couple other guys have had pit stops there. So, yeah.
And Glendening doesn't need anything to help him because he is every coach and GM's favorite player. They just love the way he plays. But Holland loves Glendening. Terry, driver of Evans Firkwagon, says, "Good day, Duds. Terry, the driver here with a hot trade. Mantha and Gino for Nikash. Would this trade be stonks or not stonks?" Stonks.
I don't think Carolina would do it.
Yeah, Carolina would not do that. Barry Kraft says, "How many players will Yzerman move at the deadline? If he gets offers for 5 or 6, will he move that many even if the return are late round picks?"
Most of the returns on their who's not going to get a late round pick on this team? Glendening, Ryan, Bernier. Everybody else is getting a 4th or later at best.
Isaiah Nagurski says, "Do you think we'll see Svech, Rasmussen, and any other young guys stuck on the roster to finish out the year, either now or after the deadline?" Yeah, I think you see a considerable amount of games, especially after the deadline.
Yeah, exactly. Just because the trade deadline, if they move 3 guys, they got to replace those spots with somebody. So either they take on some crappy vets back in the trade, or we're seeing my guess would be Hirose, Rasmussen, Cholowski, assuming they move a defenseman. That would make sense.
Michael Berry says, "What do you expect from Yzerman if he trades Mantha?" Which we talked about, and what do we expect if half the salary is retained? Oh, I expect a lot of salary is retained, because that's not even a lot of salary to be moving.
Oh yeah, if you get Anthony Mantha for 4 years at like 2.5 or under $3 million, yeah, my ask starts at 2 first-round picks and one of your best prospects. Like, that is ridiculous. Those are the type of deals that win teams cups. Which, by the way, the Red Wings should very seriously consider doing if they are moving Mantha, because...
Well, yeah, they have the space.
Just retain the money just for the extra assets, honestly.
Tori Blakely says, "Hey guys, joined your Patreon last month." Tori, thank you, and welcome to the Dub Dub family. Says, "As someone who works second shift and doesn't have cable, the insight you give still lets me feel connected to this team, but I'm not sure it's a good thing or not. No question... Yeah, no question about my birthday's Thursday, and all I want is Svechnikov brother matchup. I'm feeling prepared for the super exciting news that he's on the taxi squad, because Firk Wings fans have nice things." having nice things. Tori, if I wanted it before, I want it double now just for your birthday, and happy early birthday. Lars, the prophet of the towering behemoth, says it's been a while since the Red Wings abandoned the winning ways and our coaching staff's status for the next season is unclear. Question is, can a losing coach create a winning culture? If you run a team circling the drain for 8 years, is it even remotely likely you can be the man to turn it around? How common is that in the world of sports? Not very, which is why I think even those who don't think Blashill is to blame for a lot of things that maybe a lot of people are frustrated about, you see a lot of them even saying Blashill, the Red Wings should move on. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just think even if you have the highest opinion of Blashill, how many times have you seen that happen where a coach, sports are tenuous and you don't see long-term coaches anymore. It's just not the nature of the game. Ian says, answer a question for a lifetime hockey fan, but a strategy novice. If Dennis Cholowski is an all offensive upside and all defensive downside, why isn't he a forward? He could still quarterback the power play.
Because his strengths are relative to where he plays on the ice. One of, at least in my opinion, Cholowski's biggest strengths as a player is he manages the offensive blue line incredibly well. He knows how to walk the line. He might be the best player in the entire Red Wings organization at finding seams through traffic with his shot, even though he doesn't have an incredibly powerful shot. He's a good distributor from that spot. He's really good when he pinches up the wall. So these are not positions forwards play from. It's a defensive side of the offensive zone that Cholowski excels at.
Brad, remind me next episode. I owe you an apology. I will not tell you why, and you have to ask me next episode. Okay. Ghost of Podcast Pass says, what is the least Price could do and still get into the Hall of Fame, and what's the most Larkin could do for the rest of his career and not get in?
I think Carey Price is already a Hall of Famer. He could retire tomorrow, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's got multiple gold medals, holds the Montreal Canadiens franchise record for wins. He's got multiple Vezinas. Carey Price is a Hall of Famer today. What's the most Larkin could do? Continue his career trajectory exactly as it's been so far. The Red Wings see very little playoff success, and he peaks every season around 60 to 70 points.
Oh, that one hurt my soul. Kyle Williamson says, if there was one thing Blashill could change about his behavior to make him be a coach you want to see stay, what would it be? Do you think it's plausible? And he seems to have smart hockey mind, so his decisions leave me scratching my head. #KeepSvetch.
He has so many flaws that I would need corrected. I'm just going to start small. Svechnikov better play tomorrow, and we'll go from there.
One step at a time. Oh, the next comment, I love this patron. It says, the person reading this is beautiful. Huh.
Oh, Ryan, thank you for supporting the show.
It was worth it just for the buck I threw in. Which is better in your opinion? A big hit, a big save, a beauty snipe, or a pretty dangle?
Oh man, man after my own heart. I'm a beautiful dangle.
I love a huge hit, but I think nothing beats a good snipe.
I'll go with the snipe.
C-Nod says, in reference to my question last time, Scrubs is my favorite TV moment wearing a Red Wings jersey. It's a Chelios jersey, and the actor who played Dr. Cox narrated the 08 Wings championship DVD. Also, honorable mention to Dave Coulier on Full House repping the team. Odds they scratched Svetch for his game against his brother. I don't know if you heard the story Chelios told about Babcock, but he benched him for his homecoming outdoor game in Chicago just as a power move. These acts by Blash, scratching on bobblehead night, not playing, probably the Vancouver game mattered more. Not playing Svetch against his brother are from the same vein. Do you think it's similar, or am I just crazy? There's similarities between Blashill and Babcock, but I hesitate to draw the hard comparisons. But from what Brad was shouting before, like, you can't ignore the similarities.
Didn't everyone always say that Blashill was sort of like a Babcock Jr.?
Remember when we thought that was a good thing?
I'm sure those takes are terrible.
Oh, yeah. Not great. Third man in says, I assume Buffalo would find a package they like better elsewhere if they do decide to trade Eichel. What does a realistic trade involving the Wings and Mantha look like, and would you do it?
Like with Buffalo?
Yeah, for Eichel.
I don't think Buffalo's going to get what they want for Eichel anyway.
No. I don't see them winning an Eichel trade.
Me neither. Like, what could you possibly get that's going to be better than a Jack Eichel? Like, I just don't know any team that'd be willing to play that. But
Mantha's moving.
2 firsts.
Or if you want less than 2 firsts, it has to be one of Raymond or Seider. Has to be.
Yeah, like that's why I just don't see how a Jack Eichel trade works.
No. I would pay the price for sure.
Adam Larson, 1 for 1.
Let's not get crazy. Maybe if Adam Larson and a third for Eichel and a second, then we're calling it even.
I agree.
You're probably looking at Mantha, Veleno, multiple firsts, and that's like not enough. Not even. No, it's just not happening.
Yeah, so you don't want Detroit to be giving up picks given where they are at. And then the whole point is to rebuild. Like, yeah, Jack Eichel would obviously accelerate it, but that might put Detroit into a bad spot and just into sort of instead of being last place, second last place, third last place, it puts them into 8th last place, 9th last place, which is probably a worse place to be.
Yeah, because then you're going to miss out on a Shane Wright, that kind of thing. Adam Cowsert says, fun fact, John C. McGinley, Dr. Cox from Scrubs, and Chris Chelios are friends in real life. Pretty sure he even wore a Chelios chili shirt in an episode. Additionally, they hang out with John Cusack, Tony Danza, John McEnroe, and others. They're known as the Malibu Mob. If you had to have a nickname for you three, what would it be? And no, the Winged Wheel podcast doesn't count.
Oh, yes. Our best thing is our creativity. That's for sure. And how long it takes us to come up with episode titles.
We're wild. Like, when was the last time we were all able to like drink and party together? It was probably Brad's bachelor. Oh my God, it was years ago, eh?
Probably the last time we drank was together was probably at a Red Wings game.
Yeah.
And Crystal probably drove. Bless her soul.
I know. Poor woman.
A nickname?
I don't know. You guys have to come up with this for us, which
Yeah.
I already regret that.
You guys are infinitely more creative than us.
Yeah. Evan Beckner says, okay, Glennie isn't Coleman or Pajot, but is he Paul Gostad? Gostad, a 4th rounder. Gostad in a 4th went to Nashville for a 21st overall, flipped to Calgary. Calgary took Mark Jankowski. Gostad had 7 goals, 3 assists for 10 points and a 57% face-off percentage. 2012, also the most comparable to this year's draft in terms of overall talent, so maybe that loosens the grip on some late firsts. Also, Ryan Reeves got a first, so hope is always alive. That's a great point, and I've been thinking about Gostad a lot. I remember that trade, and I remember thinking, holy shit, that was a lot. That said, you're right. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It takes the right GM with the right frame of mind, and by right, I mean wrong for them. It could happen.
Yep. If it's happened before, it will most likely happen again. It's just striking at the right time.
And expert fashionista Tim Gunn says, good evening, podcast divas. Today I'm playing the role of reverse retro jersey designer. There's a way to make sadness work that doesn't make me sweat out my vomit through my suit when I look at it. Picture this, the 32 Falcons jersey, flip the colors so that it's a solid red with white stripes, replace the gold lettering with silver, the old Cougars logo over a V as a shoulder patch, sleeve numbers, and captain letters set in diamonds. Is it a good jersey? No. Would it be one of the better reverse retro options in the league? Absolutely. Make it work, fashionistas. Someone mock that up because that actually sounds awesome in a hilarious way.
It's better than what we got.
Of note, in yesterday's game, the only Red Wings wearing a letter was Luke Glendening. Only Red Wing wearing a letter was Luke Glendening. Also of note, the next 7 games are against the Hurricanes, Lightning, and Stars. Is there a win somewhere? Stay fresh, cheese bags.
You just know the Red Wings are going to come out of this better than expected. It's just how it works.
100%. But hey, Glendening trade value. That's what I'll take from it. Glendening's going to be the hero of every one of those games.
I think you're right.
All right. And with that, if you haven't noticed, Brad actually had to run out early, so Evan and I are going to take this opportunity to enjoy the peace and quiet. We're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast. We will be back with you on Sunday to talk all about the Svechnikov Bowl, or if not, you might hear from us sooner. We are excited to cover even more of the conversations that surround like the longer term storylines, the trades and whatnot. But for now, we'd like to thank all of our listeners, our name level sponsors, Arjun Shankar, Terry, driver of Evans Folkwagen, Taylor Tadgell, Ryan Hubbard, Eve Bartel on behalf of the Sarah Grand Foundation, R.A., Zach Spring, Citizen High Five, Cody Stark, Greach, Jake Kiefer, Scott Martin, Jacob Turner, Matt McKay, Craig Kibble, Brandon M., Matthew M. Rice, Luke Johnson, Kalen Wood, Hassam Al-Qassem, Arjun Shankar, Hannah Lee, Sam Bankson, Andrew Bohan, Jeremy Brocker, who is a brand new name level sponsor, I believe. So welcome, Jeremy. Kevin McCracken, Josh Yelton, another former junior goalie turned golfer, Trevor Pevovar, Evans Bingo Card, Connor Leighton, Put Seasauce on My Wings, Matt Keeler, Expert Fashionista Tim Gunn, Antonio Gracias, John Evans, Joseph Minama, Quaz, Stan Olson. Thank you all so very much, and we will be back with you on Sunday.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.